pull on that jersey. You represent yourself and your teammates. And a name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. Get that through your head.
And here we go.
And it is no good. He missed it. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Some goofball in a hat and a red shirt. Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms. Bare-chested. Somebody stop that man.
Then there was just one more week in the SFL's 18th season, or at least regular season. And we have one final regular season game where all 24 teams will be in action for the final time before we move to 28 teams next season. Hi, everybody. I'm the host of the program, otherwise known as NETMA. I'm Tyler Fault. Glad you could join us on a Wednesday edition of the show. We've got 12 games to break down, and we're going to talk a little bit about playoffs, talk a little about what the games that maybe might not seem so important to playoff seeding and how they impact the world around them, because one win could change a lot of things. So a win from a couple of teams could help out other teams. So let's get into it. Let's go ahead and start to break down each and every one of these games from top to bottom. We will start by going over Jack's data. It's been a while since we've done a live pick'em show on air, so let's go ahead and just recap where we are. Of course, all spreads, not just here on NETMA, but across the SFL, provided by the wonderful folks over at Jack's Data. So huge shout out to those guys. You guys on the SFL community, you guys have overtaken me. Last week was absolutely terrible for me. We'll get to more of that here in a second. You can already probably take a look. But you guys are sitting at 69 and 63. Nice. And then there's me sitting over here at 65 and 67. It was a terrible week. I picked every single favorite, and a couple of teams kept it close. It was, I only had 2 correct picks. One of them, however, was my best bet, which brings me up to 9 and 4. But I'm a couple games behind you guys, hoping to catch up as we get into the final week. But let's go ahead and get started, shall we? First game on the docket, Sioux Falls in Arizona. I think the Scorpions spoil the party. Of course, Sioux Falls, the newly crowned West Division champions over there in that division. A very tightly packed division of death, we called it when it was first created, especially for Eddie Gage and company. Eddie's company and the rest of Scorpions, well, they took down Baltimore last week. And the one thing as I'm going through everything is, on paper, it looks like Arizona has the better defense. That's what I'm going up against. Yes, it's already a tight spread, but I'm thinking Arizona might just have something up their sleeve again this week. Maybe they figured out something with Connor Weston. It looked like they did this past week. Ashley Jackson kept the turnovers to a minimum versus Baltimore. They're going to have to do the exact same thing against the number 1 team in takeaways, but I think they will do just enough this week. So Arizona over Sioux Falls, at least in the spread, just to crash the party a little bit and then send the Sparrows into a very weird playoffs where they haven't been in a few seasons. So it'll be good to see them back. All right, moving on to Portland and LA. LA's been a little crazy the last couple of weeks, and this is one of the games where it could really shake up a lot for a bunch of teams. If Portland decides to win, that helps out the strength of victory for a few different teams, especially for the teams that played. There we go. Let's keep that up there. that played Portland this season, that being the Atlantic Division, and that being the teams over in the West, just a little bit. Did I get that right? No. Excuse me. The South Division. So the South Division is pretty much, neck and neck with Lone Star and Mexico City. That game coming up later. But especially for teams over in that, I just said it, right? In that Atlantic Division. So teams like Charleston get helped out a little bit. Teams like Florida and Jacksonville maybe helped out a little bit by a Portland win, hurt by a Portland loss in some cases. LA, a win for LA is a little bit funky at this point. But I think Portland, especially coming off of 2 solid wins, to get back on track and to maybe put a couple smiles on some faces there in that club. Not a whole lot to smile about for the majority part of this season. It's good to see them, having a couple of things go their way. I think the Fleet will take not only the spread, but I think they'll take the victory over LA. All right, next game, Queen City, Baltimore. I think Baltimore turn it around. However, I think it's going to be a close game. It's definitely not going to be an 8.5 victory. Baltimore have had around 8 points on average when it comes to their last. How many games have Baltimore won at home that have been, it's such a lopsided margin. Yeah, last two losses for Baltimore came on the road. They haven't lost at home in quite some time, at least these past 2 seasons. It would be a shock for everyone, myself included, for Queen City to come in and win. A place where Queen City has yet to win, or at least has yet to come back and win since all the way back in season 12. So I think Baltimore should come away with the win. However, it's going to be a little bit too close for comfort in this one. All right, game number 4, Vancouver, San Diego. And the Mavs are not going to make it easy for Vancouver and Andy. We saw how San Diego played really well against Lone Star. They weren't able to close the door and seal up that football game, kind of like how Tulsa did to Louisiana last week, and kind of like how Houston failed to do versus Vancouver. It's a tight ball game. It's going to be a fun ball game to watch, especially the air show that we've come to expect from Gunnar Lewis and Liam Hammer. But I think Vancouver will take the victory. However, it's going to be very tight. It's going to be a tighter contest. It's probably going to be a similar scoreline, 30-26. Vancouver with the win over San Diego in quite similar circumstances. But I don't think 8.5 is too much of a hill to climb for those Mavs. With that, Vancouver would be the number 1 seed in the season 18 playoffs. All right, on to Vice Wars. Here we go. Denver and Las Vegas. And the one thing that is really going to help Denver in this case is having one of the best, in fact, I think the best quarterback in terms of pass accuracy, or at least at one point. Oh, he's number 2 now at pass accuracy, Eric Price. 76% completion percentage puts him number 2. Getting close to, in fact, a major milestone for Eric Price in terms of being a really good, accurate passer. If he, probably not going to do it this week, of course, but when Eric Price starts throwing and throws for 1,000 passing, or 1,000 attempts, I should say, I really think Eric Price is going to be an under-the-radar quarterback, because if he keeps his completion percentage up, he will be the number 1 quarterback currently with the most accurate arm in the league. The only man above, I had this stat earlier. I was looking it up, and I think you guys should take a look at it too. But Eric Price's, completion percentage in terms of the all-time ranking, I'm not really saying he's done a whole lot, but once he hits 1,000, I'll get the official stat for you and who he's trying to chase. But right now he sits number 2, not just in the league, but number 2 all-time in completion percentage, because of the stuff he's been able to do in Denver. Now, I wish my computer would load up the stat for you. Anyways, Denver and their accuracy is going to take down Las Vegas. That's the long and the short of it. I really, Las Vegas, the winner could potentially get into a playoff spot if things go their way. However, I think Denver may just sneak into the last little bit. It's going to take a little bit for Denver's going to need some help if some teams above them do come out with a couple of victories. They're chasing the only teams that can really take over are Tulsa, Charleston, and London. If any of those teams lose, the winner of this game's in the playoffs. That's as easy as it gets for this club. There we go. All-time stats, completion percentage. Eric Price is right behind Skeletor P. Funk, who hasn't been in the league for quite some time, but he's only about 0.5% behind him. Once he hits 1,000, in my opinion, that puts him in, as far as being an accurate passer, probably one of the greatest all time in terms of being an accurate passer. That's something to look forward to if you're a Night Wings fan next season. All right, on to Fort Worth and Houston. Another battle in Texas. We'll talk about another battle coming up on Saturday. But again, in case you haven't heard, there's 8 games going on Friday. So for all of you over on the West Coast, you're going to have some lunchtime football coming up. Those first couple games we were talking about, Arizona, Sioux Falls, Los Angeles, Portland. You guys are going to have some lunch football on Friday. So, show your coworkers and all that kind of fun stuff. So I think the Hyenas, they're one of the last teams that could potentially make a playoff spot. I think they're going to fall short based on everything that's going to have to happen around them in order for them to get in. But they're not going to fall short in this game. They have struggled versus Fort Worth in the last couple of games. They lost to the Toros earlier this season, 20-16. However, I think Houston has shown a lot of improvement in the second half of the season. I think they will win this football game. However, they will fall short and miss the playoffs. All right, on to game number 7. There we go. Game number 7, St. Louis and Louisiana. This is a quote from the Louisiana locker room. And this was the plan all along, right? Clinch the division at home, said by no one in particular. But I've got a good feeling about Louisiana's chances this week. They are favored by 6.5. They have lost 2 in a row. But I think the 2 teams that have skidded and have, really looked to have things locked up, Baltimore and Louisiana, I think they're going to come out strong. Yes, it's kind of a sad day for St. Louis fans when they come into the Revolution, when they come into home of Louisiana and find out that their final game with a bunch of their players, 4 at least, either declaring free agency at the end of the season or leaving the team at the end of the season, that being Eagle, Geralt, and Cairo at the end of the season. So again, best wishes to them. And of course, we know Christian Brown out as quarterback after the season as well. So first of all, good luck to St. Louis and happy trails to everybody there. But I think Louisiana has the better edge. I think in terms of play calling, from what we were seeing, it seems to me like there's a lot of maybe one-trickness in terms of the St. Louis club, and that's coming more from a biased opinion. From an unbiased opinion, you could say Louisiana has a little bit about the same thing. They have a 2-back set. That's their bread and butter. And if you stop the 2-back set, all you have to do is get to Tommy Utah, and your game is set for the most part. So it'll come down to the coaching staff. However, I think the Revolution have enough to take home the victory and the East Division. All right, other game going on in the East, Atlanta and Tulsa, because if Louisiana do not win, then Tulsa could very potentially take the division if they beat Atlanta. I think Atlanta is going to take Tulsa to task. I think we're going to see more of an old school approach from Atlanta, and I think Atlanta is going to win this one. They have struggled mightily on offense. I think they try and go back to the roots this week, not to try anything special. They get BDG more involved on the ground once again, and they take down Tulsa. Tulsa, with a loss, would not necessarily be out of a playoff spot. However, if Denver wins and Tulsa lose, at this point, with not a whole lot to go off of, besides the playoff standings that the commissioner posted in the league chat or the league Discord, Tulsa would be out. Now, of course, games going on before him would really help out Tulsa's strength of victory, especially if a couple of West Division teams. So if Sioux Falls were to take down, I'm looking for Tulsa here and see who they beat. No. The West Division would not help them because the only team that Tulsa would, maybe Denver. Denver's the only team that Tulsa's beaten in the West Division. So if Denver win, maybe we see Tulsa still sneaking into the playoffs a little bit. But they're going to need to beat Atlanta. But I think BDG, Bryant Dynasty finally rekindle something and they take down Tulsa. That's my pick. They will cover the spread at least. All right, let's get to the fun games, all right? 4 great games on Saturday. 2 on Next Level, 2 on bonus coverage / SFL Twitch. Now we've got the old-fashioned Mexican standoff in Denton, Texas. Mexico City versus Lone Star. This is SEC championship ball game written all over it. Mexico and Lone Star, whoever wins gets the Tex-Mex, aka South Division title. There's a lot to play for. 2 good coaching staffs, 2 good game plans. Who comes away with it? Is it Mexico City's once again after really struggling for a little bit during the season, now picking up a couple of big wins? Is it Lone Star, who have decided to play a really good second half of their season, winners of 4 of the last 5 games? It's going to be a fun game. I'm picking Mexico City to win this one because I trust Ramos' coaching staff more than I trust Lone Star's. And it's a slim margin. It's a very slim margin. This is a fun game to watch. This is must-watch television. I'm thinking we're in for an instant classic. Jack State has a pick 'em. I don't know who to go off of besides you got to give Ramos the edge. You got to give Ramos the edge in coaching, as well as a couple of other key bits and pieces. The Aztecs have won the last 2 games in this contest. They also have the best average yardage per game. They also have the 3rd best passing touchdowns in the league, and the 3rd best 3rd down conversions in the league. They also limit 3rd downs 3rd best as well, only allowing teams about half and half in terms of their 3rd down conversions per game. So Mexico City has the edge. On paper, they have the edge in coaching. I'm giving the Aztecs the advantage here in this football game, and they're taking the South Division title in enemy territory. All right, DC, London. I've really liked Pickler's play as of late. This is a really good undercard to figure out. I have the long Rogos up there. My apologies. But I think Lone Star, I said Lone Star, meant London. Sorry. London is going to take it to DC. DC is going to be in a little bit of trouble because I don't think they're going to be too off kilter about what happened in the last game, a certain doink off a field goal. But I think London and their high-flying offense, who have already shown that they can take it to really good teams, and London has yet to lose to DC. That's another key point. That includes earlier this season in Week 6 when London beat DC by a touchdown. I'm thinking the same thing happens. London will be in their home confines back over across the pond. London will take this victory. Okay, next game. This is the Atlantic Division. Both games. The second block on Next Level should just be called the Atlantic Block. Florida, Charleston. I think Charleston will take Florida. I think they're going to neutralize Charlie Boletsky. By and all large, they'll probably use the same formula they used versus Louisiana, and I think they're going to take down Florida. They're going to limit Ron Cochran's ability to throw the football. Charleston will win this football game. However, it's the Kings who will take the crown. The Kings have not necessarily an easy game versus Carolina. However, if they play their cards right, if they're able to move down the football, the Jacksonville Kings will take the Atlantic Division. It's just as simple as that. The Kings have not lost to Carolina. Again, we were talking about this earlier when they played this season, but Jacksonville has not lost to Carolina since 2016. So, Jacksonville with the victory and the crown. All right, that is going to do it for Week 14. Now you know. Tomorrow, again, I'll be posting this in the NETMA server Discord, link to which is down below. If you want to be involved in tomorrow's show, please let me know in the NETMA chat. That way, if you want to be on, we can get you guys involved because tomorrow It's the pre-week show. It's the first time I'm doing it. I want to get your opinions. What's going to happen? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me my picks are wrong. Tell me who your favorites are going to win for each football game. Tell me, what are some things going on in your locker room as you guys prepare for this week 14, for this pivotal match, for these pivotal games that you guys will be playing in. Go ahead and tell the league what's going on. We'll see you tomorrow, right back here on NETMA for one final time here in the regular season. This has been a presentation of the program otherwise known as NETMA. I've been your host, Tyler Falk. We will see you tomorrow for the pre-week show. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.